Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your co-host, Peter Schrappen of Northwest Marine Trade Association fame or infamy, depending how you look at it. There's my co-host, Mark Bunzel. Mark, you
Hey,
look like
Peter.
you're in, how you
Evening.
doing? You look like you're in Anacortes.
I am in the Wagner Guide corporate worldwide headquarters here in Anacortes. Yeah.
Looking good.
Um,
How was your week? Did you get on the water at all?
no. Leonard, Lorena, and I were talking, making plans for the weekend. I'm going to try to get out Saturday night for probably my last overnight. And then next week, my boat goes into the yard for some fall repairs and other things.
Nice. Yeah, well, it's September 24th, 2020, episode 19. I feel like we kind of started this on a lark, Mark, about 5 months ago, and it sure has grown. Hi, Landons. Good evening.
Hi.
Hi there.
How's it going? There's my stalwart guest there. Almost, dare I say co-host? Yeah, we're just saying that we've been doing this for about 5 months, and it's growing every week, I feel like. We've got a sponsor now. The Grosbeck Realty Group is joining us once again this week. We've got a great show lined up and some COVID news, some boating news, and I'm really excited. We've been teasing this episode, Mark, since we started, I think right out of the gate, about how to avoid seasickness, which is something
That's
I'm
right.
interested in. So, yeah.
That's
So
right. And a little later on, we'll be joined by our resident Harborview nurse and boater, Annie Feyereisen. And we'll introduce her. And we're going to have a lot of fun with her. So even though it's not a subject that is a great subject, she's got some terrific tips. And I think everybody's going to enjoy it. So why don't we get into the updates? And Peter, you said you had some news on COVID or border or something?
Well, I was looking at some numbers today, and I'm really feeling optimistic about the way our state is going on numbers. Thurston County is reporting less than 25 new cases over 100,000 people, which is a real marker for our state. That's the most populated county in our state. That's on the heels of Whatcom and San Juan counties, posting some good numbers just a few days ago. I'll put the website in the chat box, but there's say what you will about the government and their ability to share information and how it can sound non-human, but they've done a great job on demystifying what Governor Inslee is looking at as he makes these different decisions on when to reopen the counties. So we've got, I think, 17 counties in phase 3 and 17 counties in phase 2. King County is posting some good numbers, so I'm just feeling really, I've got a little spring in my step on this fall blustery day. I don't know if you got caught in the rain today, Mark, but that was something to behold. There was some storms brewing in Seattle for sure.
Yeah, no, it was nice to see a little rain. I can't even say it. A little rain and great to smell the air afterwards. Nice and clean. And compared to last week, just wonderful.
Exactly. And then we've got some whale news. Mark, you were telling me about baby orca up in your neck of the woods. What's going on up there?
Well, we did a check, and I'm going to play a video at the very end of this show that we have that if you're a fan of the orca whales, you'll enjoy this. So stay tuned for that. But the news that we've been following is Tahlequah, which is J35. And for those of you who have not been following our updates on it, J35 was the one who unfortunately lost her baby about almost 2 years ago now, and then pushed the dead baby around for 17 days around Puget Sound. They called it the tour of grief. And she became pregnant and had her baby at the beginning of this month, just off the end of San Juan Island. And I learned something, and that was that when they first noticed the baby, they were checking carefully to see if the dorsal fin was standing up. And that's their indication of how many days old it is. So for the first 2 days, the fin is down because it's folded up when it's in the womb of the mama. And then when it's out for 2 days, the fin goes up and is up hopefully for the rest of J57's life. Now, you're going to ask about this one, but they also came out with some detail that J57 is a boy. How they determine that, I don't know, but we're not going to cover that during family hour. But J57 is a boy, and when I checked on J57's condition this morning, they said he's precocious and spunky.
Oh, like
And
that.
so
Yeah.
he's doing very good. And we're going to keep on top of this because about 40% of the baby whales, calves, don't make it through that first year. It's a very tough situation for feed against predators. And so we're really going to be watching that.
Now, Mark, that J, is that that number, is that the number that they are in the birth order of the entire population of those whales? Do you know?
You know, Peter, I don't know, but I know that they're expecting two more. There's two more pregnant mamas out there that they're watching to have give birth, and we've had all three pods in the area. And actually, some of this video I'll show at the end is showing the super pods out there with one of the whale researchers, and pretty exciting. So a lot of things happening in the whale world. I had some friends who took a whale watch trip out of Anacortes and on Shane Agregard's group, and they got to see the super pod out there. So the super pod is going back and forth between the San Juan Islands and the waters of British Columbia, which they don't have a border closing. So they're allowed to go back and forth. We are not.
And any idea, Mark, when that's going to change?
You know, I weekly, I talk to my British Columbia friends, and we don't have a lot of optimism about that border opening. So right now they extended it to October 21st, and they're going to announce again. But I wouldn't be surprised if they had it closed again. And we're even questioning what they're going to do about next summer. And I don't think any of us can tell. As you pointed out, the numbers are trending in the right direction, but we've got a long way to go on this one.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Landon, how was your week?
It was good. Busy working on the 2021 Wagner, and we hope to get out doing a little more boating when the sun comes out later this week or weekend. So we're going to do that. Looking forward to it.
Were you able to
head out there and see if Mark is out there? Try and spend the weekend out there and see if we can cross paths a little bit. But yes,
we're doing some research for a future show, though, and
exactly.
Leonard has
about that. Yes.
Yeah, Leonard has a new device on his boat. One of the first.
Exactly, and if you want to talk about get into updates just a little bit, my update is about the boat, and we spent this week putting on a new device on the boat. That's the new Vesper Cortex. It's a combination of it's a VHF device combined with AIS, automatic information system, and it's a boat monitoring system. So we put brand new stuff, courtesy of Miltech. They got us an early ship on that, so we got one of the first devices coming in. And then we have a small group of people here, professionals that did the installation from K&R Marine here in Anacortes, and they got on that in a timely manner. I'm smiling because it's a fabulous device, brand new. It's kind of redefines the VHF radio. Instead of being the microphone and you hold it up here, the human interface part of the VHF radio is now basically your smartphone or handheld device that is basically it looks just like a smartphone. So instead of the old microphone and the speaker up here, it's all through a handheld device that is a smartphone's shape and size, and has all kinds of great features in it. Again, redefining VHF. AIS is all improved with this. Still has all of the receive and transmit capabilities, but it has much better and granular type control over AIS conflicts. I don't know if you've, at least with our previous AIS system, you'd get these warnings about all of these different boats that might be a collision problem with you. And the voice activated part of it just keeps talking. And I'd like to be able to sort out, I care about the Washington State Ferry. I want to know about that, but I don't necessarily need to care about that 20 knot boat that's headed away from me right now. So some way to sort that out. And this Cortex device has all of those different features. And then the biggie is the monitoring system. It includes a system that monitors. You can hook up bilge pumps, and you can hook up high water alarm. You can hook up DC voltage. You can monitor heat and smoke out of the whole thing. And it sends notifications over its own cloud system, a cellular cloud system, and it'll give you notifications of any alerts on that. You get to set the parameters.
Nice.
And then the really good anchor watch system.
You can tell Leonard's pretty excited about it.
Yeah, really. Pump the brakes, Leonard.
Yeah,
who's on the payroll?
We're going to do a complete show on this in a couple.
We don't need to, Mark. We just did it.
I know. I'm thinking we need to cut them off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But,
2 hours later.
But we are going to do a show next week on AIS.
Yeah.
And have Doug Miller from Miltech on with us, who is truly an expert on AIS, and just explain. And I think our audience is going to learn a lot, even those that already have AIS on their boat, about what it can do and what it can't do in its plain vanilla fashion. And then a couple of weeks after that, we'll have a show dedicated to all the neat things that this Cortex unit can do. So
that's one of the things about boating I think is unheralded, is just so much technology has emerged from recreational boating. GPS, water makers, just a whole host of different products have really kind of had their infancy stages on the water, on yachts and pleasure boats.
Absolutely. And as we go through the year here, we're going to feature many of them, and we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Good stuff. So yeah, do you want to launch into your updates, Landons?
You bet. I have a little bit. Speaking of the border, as Mark mentioned, is closed through October 21st, probably through the rest of the year, no doubt. But there is some hope. There's a group called Future Borders Coalition. They're a group of organizations that are looking into some new ideas. It's a U.S.-Canada border group. Right now, they're developing a health pre-clearance pilot project. So travelers would take a COVID-19 test 72 hours ahead of travel, similar to what Alaska is doing. And they're doing this to create a biosafe zone, as they call it, within an airport, for example. And hopefully this will eliminate the 14-day quarantine that's required right now. So this is being piloted at the Vancouver airport with departures on WestJet airline. And they hope to pilot this at SeaTac because Microsoft and Amazon, their employees travel a lot between Vancouver and Seattle. So there's some hope there. They would, if the pilot's successful, they would use this for cruise ships and train stations as well.
And hopefully recreational, hopefully, but
yeah.
There's no indication of that yet.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about that, Landons. Maybe we can talk after the show. I should get involved with that coalition.
Yeah, I agree, Peter.
No one's asking you, Mark.
Yeah. I just got a faithful text from our main speaker that her internet is acting up. So we're gonna hope she can join us here. Otherwise, we're gonna go ahead with what she has taught me about the topic. But I'm sure she can do a much better job than me. So we'll see if she can reconnect with us. Lorena, any other updates?
Just again, there's a potential to use smartphone technology. They're looking into that to process travelers. They're also looking into a trusted healthy travelers program. So there are several ideas on the table that this group is working on, and hopefully for next year, there'll be some new procedures and things that will give us hope to go back and forth between the border.
That's great. Anything from any of our marinas?
Not at this point. Things are operating as usual. Guest moorage is open. Most facilities like restrooms and showers are open. So things are good there.
I've got a few updates, Mark, on boat sales if you're interested.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh God, I was hoping you'd say yes. If you said no, that would have been really awkward.
It
So
would've-
yeah, no, things are ticking in the right direction there. A little bit more good news as well on that front. Units registered new boats are up 5.41% in January through July 2020 compared to January through July in 2019. So you got to love that. Then brokerage sales, interestingly, just ticked up upwards slightly compared to 2019. So while you're reading about how incredible the boating is and the traffic out there, not just in our state, but around the country. Numbers are good, but I don't know if they are as eye-popping as I would have thought, but certainly they are on the plus side. So that's always a good thing. But yeah, like I said, not the kind of fall out of my chair numbers that I guess I was sort of hoping for, but yeah.
Well, but when I talk to different brokers and so forth, there isn't a lot of inventory out there, both new and used. So things have been selling and makes you wonder in the used area what's left and is it worth going after.
Yeah, and that new sale, the new units is tricky too, given the supply chain problems that we had, given the fact that so many different factory sites were closed down in March and April, and so I think there might be a pipeline issue there getting those to market. So yeah, we shall see. But yeah, it's good news on that front, which maybe doesn't surprise you.
Yeah, no, and we'll keep an eye on it and we'll report on it. And I just heard from Annie, and I think I'm going to have to cover for her. She's still trying to get her internet to be working right. So you'll have to make believe I'm the nurse for the night. So I'll put my rubber gloves on as soon as we're ready, and my seasickness goggles. That
there they are.
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. I feel like I'm in television, and I keep saying, yes, when you come back after the commercial, we'll have, it's the complete tease. Lorena, any other updates? Leonard?
No, not really. There's a little something on Nexus. Some of the appointments have been canceled because of COVID. You'll need to go online and check the latest with the CBSA website.
That's for the renewal. So if your Nexus needs to be renewed, the centers where they do the interviews are closed still.
They're saying that if you do need a renewal, it'll be good for 18 months beyond the expiration date at this time. But again, check the website.
Lorena, I'm sorry, did you mean that the current card is extended for another 18 months or the renewal will be?
My understanding is 18 months, the card will be extended, but again, check their website because that can change. And some of the urban enrollment centers are closed, but even after reopening for COVID, some of those will remain closed. They will have open the Vancouver International Airport to take care of your Nexus, as well as Birch Bay in Washington.
Yeah. Katie, good idea. And I'm going to step away for a moment.
Okay.
And give Katie Annie's phone number.
Okay.
And then we're going to have her call in and do audio only. So I'll be right back.
After the commercial break?
I have, I just noticed here on the question answer that somebody's asking about the AIS, the Cortex, I assume. The question says how much, how many, he has $3 signs in the question, and he's pretty close on the number of dollar signs. So it isn't a pricey unit. I believe the retail, if I remember right, because I didn't have it exactly, it's about $1,300, $14, something like that. So it's definitely more money than your standard run-of-the-mill VHF radio, but it includes a whole lot more functionality. And boat sales, there was something I was looking at for here at the questions, but
the boat sales is a question about trailable boats and the size of those. I can look at the fleet data. I might not be able to do it during the show, but interestingly, a little bar trivia. So Mark, Leonard and Lorena, there's 240,000 registered boats in our state, which puts us, probably 23rd in the country. And 96% of those are on trailers. So I would guess that a lot of those units, I'm not going to say 96%, but I would say, you know, Pareto's principle there, probably closer to 90% are going to be on trailers if I was to make a guess. We got an AIS question. Does the AIS support Class B plus?
And I'm not sure what it means by exactly about Class B plus. That's actually that would be a good question for our next week when we have Doug Miller on from Miltech, and he would be able to answer that. But if
Doug just jumped in here. This is great. He says the answer is yes.
And
so
thank you, Doug.
Yeah, look at that. It's working.
Yeah.
Well, there's our guest. Yeah, nice work, Mark.
No problem. Excellent. Well, I'm going to segue right now, and we're going to jump over into there's Annie. Annie, your mic is on mute, so you might want to unmute yourself there.
We've been teasing this for 17 weeks, so what's a few more minutes?
Yeah.
So sorry, you guys.
No problem. Before we start you, though, I just wanted to mention acknowledge our sponsor, as Peter mentioned, Groesbeck Realty Group in Anacortes. They've got beautiful homes up in Anacortes. I'm going to show you some pictures later on of one of them that happens to be about a block away from my house with just a beautiful view of the Guimas Channel, and it's available. And the interesting thing, and Peter, I don't know if you caught on to this, but every time we preview a house on the show, it sells within a couple of days. But I can guarantee you we're not getting part of that commission, unfortunately. So anyway.
We need a new negotiator, Mark.
I think we do. I think we need to send Vito in down with Jean Groesbeck. And Jean's a tough negotiator, though. I know that. She's watching tonight, so she would appreciate that comment. So we're going to talk tonight on a tough topic. And I seriously was worried whether people would really tune in over this, because it's a little bit of a negative topic, but we've got a lot of good information on how to make it something that works. And I want to introduce our nurse who works at Harborview. She is a first responder and has been right there in the middle of dealing with COVID-19 issues. And the wonderful thing is, in addition to her skills as a nurse, she's also a boater, a liveaboard boater on Lake Union. And like the rest of us, she deals with all those interesting challenges of owning and operating a boat. So Annie, welcome aboard. Good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
So as I said, seasickness is kind of awful, and we've got a lot of different tips, and it can kind of happen to any one of us. You even taught me some new things, which we're going to get into the show today on. But one of the things that I started to do after some of the discussions with you is when I'm taking somebody on a passage, on a trip, I try to learn something about them. And if they're going to be staying on my boat, living on my boat for a week, I even try to get a little bit of a medical history. What drugs are they taking? Do they have heart issues? Anything like this? And now I've started to ask before the trip, before we leave the dock, are you prone to seasickness? Annie, is that what you do on your boat?
Oh, absolutely. I would like to know ahead of time if somebody's going to have that issue. There are some things you can do to help with that.
And what do? Hang a bucket around their neck? And
That's been known to happen a time or two. I think the most important thing is to start with understanding what seasickness is and physiologically how it happens to your body. And once you understand that, it helps you kind of get in front of it, so to say. So it's really just a conflict in the messaging to your brain. Your ears, your inner ear specifically, is in charge of communicating motion and acceleration to your brain. I'm moving, I'm walking, I'm jumping, I'm skipping, whatever. Your eyes then are in charge of the perception of that motion and acceleration. Two different pathways to the brain. One is perceiving actual muscle movement and pressure changes and acceleration. Another one is what's happening, what do I see in front of me, right? So when you're on a boat, your eyes, well, the furniture, the doors, the windows, everything is moving at the same rate that your eye is. So your eye is perceiving that you're not moving, but your inner ear and your muscles feel the motion and the acceleration. So your brain is getting two different messages. One from your eyes saying, ooh, I'm not moving. Everything is moving with me. I'm stationary. But your body and your muscles and your inner ear are saying, oh no, we are moving. We're definitely moving. So you've got this conflict going on in your brain. That then causes your brain to dump these hormones into your system. And those hormones are picked up by your stomach, and your stomach senses epinephrine, norepinephrine, vasopressin, these three different hormones specifically that then create the nausea and which will come later.
You know, I learned, I'm doing some research on the topic, not that I need to do a lot on it, but today I learned that the word nausea and nautical come from the same Greek word.
Oh,
Really?
Look at that, Mark. I dusted off my Greek.
Nice, Peter, nice.
I just wanted to show off a little bit. Just don't sit down and show stars. There's a little bit of research that goes, oh yeah, that was interesting. And that the Greeks wrote about it. Homer talks about seasickness, and then the Chinese also studied it. And I'll put the link in. It was a fascinating read. It's a little long, but yeah, it was really interesting to deep dive on seasickness.
Great for cocktail discussion, right, Peter?
I'll wait for that invite, Mark.
Peter's literature. So Annie, what do I do if I have somebody who's going to come on my boat with me, and they mention that they're prone to seasickness? Okay, my bucket idea is not a great idea. What's the remedies? What do I start with?
Now, obviously, prevention is key. If anybody is prone to being seasick in a car or a train, a plane, amusement parks, ironically enough, and interestingly enough, people who suffer from migraine headaches are more prone to seasickness. I think it has to do with the chemicals and the sensitivity in the brain are kind of the same, in the same vein. There's a lot of literature that supports that. So honestly, the best prevention in my mind is three. There are medications, right? There's Dramamine and there's Bonine. Those are the two big ones. Those are both use meclizine hydrochloride as the active ingredient for that. It works best if you take it like the night before. If you know you're going to be out all day on a boat and you know that you're prone, if you take it the night before and then take it again in the morning, 30 to 60 minutes prior to embarking, your odds are going to be better that you'll get in front of it. It's 4 to 6 hours. You have to take it every 4 to 6 while you're out there. If you're super prone to seasickness, you can have your doctor prescribe prescription strength, just straight meclizine without all the additive, and bypass the over-the-counter stuff.
What about the patches? That's another way of taking a drug.
Yep.
I've heard great things that they work, but I've also been warned by women who are slighter than the normal human. They're not as big, and
Yep.
that some of the patches the dosage can be too high.
That's exactly right. I think that's why it requires a prescription, and your doctor will give you the right strength. There are different doses of that. There are different sizes of that. I like the patches. That is my preferred method. It's put it on 4 hours ahead of time. It goes right behind your ear. It lasts 72 hours. The worst side effect of that is dry mouth. Sometimes people get a little bit dizzy, but if you put it on far enough in advance, I like those patches. I think they work really, really well.
Good. And what about eating before the trip? I kind of don't have greasy eggs and bacon.
No. Yeah. You know, the other thing I do want to put this out there about those patches, because I've seen it a couple of dozen times where if they don't wash your hands after you put that patch on and then you touch your eye, it will literally dilate your eyes. So for those of you who've had to have your eyes dilated before and then be out on a boat in the sunshine with one dilated eye because you touched it, it's not that enjoyable. So wash your hands after you put those patches on. Yeah.
Great tip.
Before we go to food, Mark, there's one other thing that I think we should mention. Well, actually, there's two. There's those C-band wrists, and I'm sorry, you guys, I had a patch and I had my wrist, but I live on my boat and I put that bag somewhere special and I can't find it, so I don't have those to show you. But those C-bands, they're really cool. They work on the Nuikine pressure point. It's an acupressure point on your wrist. It's easy to find it on your own self. I don't know if you can see this. If you put 3 fingers, like put your third finger right at the crease of your wrist and go down to your index finger, come across, there's 2 tendons right there. You put that band on there. It's got a little bead on it. The bead should be facing in towards your wrist, right at that point, both sides. If you put those on, they're all natural. There's no medication. A lot of people swear by them. I've never tried them, but they've got enough of clout in the community that I think it's worth sharing that. They're safe, they're natural, they're great for kids.
Well, as long as you brought up the armbands, I guess this is the time I have to
Yeah.
one for the team and go embarrassing. And I don't know if my camera's on right.
Oh, Mark, you look fantastic.
Lord.
You look great.
So this is courtesy of Nigel Calder, who we have at Boat Show University, and he brought these out to show, and he swears his wife, who we sailed all over the world with, tried these, laughing. And it may be hard to see, but in an area around my eyes, there's a tube, and it's got a blue liquid in it.
Oh, we see it. Yeah,
I'm
we got
going
it.
for an Emmy. I'm going for an Emmy.
I have nightmares tonight. What I do with my nightmares, Amy?
We need some little eyelashes on there or something.
I'm good.
Yeah. I'm going to put a mustache on it too. Anyway, but it also has it on the side. And I believe the idea there, as Annie said, you're getting signals to your brain. And on the side, it's dealing with this on your peripheral vision. You can buy these. They're a little bit hard to find, but naturally, the world market at Amazon, if you just do anti-nausea goggles, these will come up. They're about, Annie, what were they? About $20 or
I think they were like $20. And I love them. I can't speak to it. I mean, it makes sense to me why that might work, but good Lord, it's just a beautiful thing, Mark.
Yeah, I feel like Mark lost a bet to Nigel Calder, and part of it was Mark had to wear these glasses, and the joke's on us.
I think so. But, Nigel, thank you for the recommendation. And anytime you see somebody walking down the dock now at Roche Harbor or Fisherman's Bay, you'll know where they got that idea.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I
Maybe
love
we'll
it.
wear them at the boat show next year if we have an in-person boat show. All right, so those are some of the things we can buy and some of the other things and the preventative medications. What about some of the other food items? I know people believe in ginger and ginger cookies and saltines.
There are so many things that, back in the vein of prevention, there's some logistics when you're aboard that you should just kind of pay attention to. You should stay outside. Don't go down. Don't be down in the V berth or even down on the inside of the cabin at all. Avoid staring at things that your brain normally would perceive as stationary. Like, don't stare at the door or the fridge or anything that's stationary. If you can stare at the horizon and kind of try to get more congruency between your inner ear and your eyes, that's going to help you. Perception is everything, right? So if your eyes are perceiving that you're moving and your body is feeling the movement, and you can get those two congruent, then you're going to be better off than any other way. Yeah, hydration and food.
And hydration, keep drinking liquids. I mean, I find rum is a great seasick.
Yes.
Easy there, Mark.
I was just going to be the Debbie Downer and tell you that one of the worst things you can do is show up to go out on a boat after a heavy night of drinking the night before. It is like the worst thing you can do to yourself. You're dehydrated, you're tired, your body's not going to be able to combat any sort of fatigue or queasiness or nausea. So sorry about that. Fatty foods, heavy meals, meatloaf, mashed potato. If you think of it like this, if you don't want to taste that coming back up, it's probably not good to put in your system before you go out, right?
I'll think about that. You've just ruined my appetite.
The visual's really good, isn't it?
I'm going to think about that.
One thing that I was surprised, and I mean, it made sense to me after I thought about it more, is acidic foods, like even vinegar-based, like balsamic salad dressing, which you would think would be an okay thing, feels light. It creates so much in your system that when you do get sick, it's like it has like an amplified effect when it's coming back up. So acidic foods, heavy foods, fatty foods, obviously, no bueno before you go out there.
I'm going to cover navigation in a moment because
Oh, yeah,
I'll leave that as a teaser. Navigation, seasickness, and I'll answer that. But you
Yep.
kind of blew me away with something today that I had never heard of. And I'm talking to Annie, and she said, well, you can reset the crystals in your ear. And I'm thinking, oh, what is this, some new age medicine, the crystals in my ear? Go ahead, Annie, I set you up. Go for it.
Oh man, yes you did. Well, so that is for a condition that's called BPPV, benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. And the only reason I even talked about this today is because it's happened to me personally 2 times, not in relation to seasickness, but it happened on boats both times. So I feel like it's enough of an issue that you should know about it, right? So the crystals in your inner ear, they live in a specific place and they should stay in that place.
And everybody has these crystals.
Everybody
I
has
have them right now.
Yes, you do. You have crystals.
Hey.
And those crystals can dislodge from the place where they normally should live and land in a different part of your inner ear because you've got those 3 different semicircle canals in there. Once that happens, that will set it'll give you permanent or temporary vertigo based on whether you can get those crystals dislodged and back into the place where they're supposed to go. It's a very interesting thing. It happened to me the first time when I was jumping off the top of the boat with my grandkids, and we were jumping, I don't know, Mark, what is it, 20 feet, maybe 15 off the top? Yeah. So just jumping all day, playing, do what we do. And at the end of the day, I was just like, oh, I don't know what this is. I was off balance. I was dizzy. Like if I turned my head quickly, I felt like I was going to pass out. Sure enough, it was this BPPV. And the second time was snorkeling on the surface, decided to go down deeper. Those crystals dislodged. And the minute that happens, you can have this vertigo. So
what do I do when my crystals get dislodged?
Well, I was hoping to be able to demonstrate it to you, but I can't do it in this environment. It's called the Epley maneuver. It's EPLEY maneuver. And it's just this exercise that you do where you literally have to throw yourself around, but it works. I did it both times. You put a pillow on your bed, preferably on the bed, that should hit you right at the base of your neck. So you kind of set yourself up and then you cross your arms. You turn your head 45 degrees and throw yourself back. And then you do this series of rotational events and those crystals will lift out of there and settle back into the right spot. It is the coolest thing. Epley maneuver. If any of you guys experience that, it works wonders.
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat. I just found it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, it is there. And I checked with our lawyers this afternoon after talking to you, and they were a little worried about recommending this turn your head 45 degrees and turn your head back against a pillow.
Well, I've got some more for you then. Wait till you hear this other one.
Oh, God. So everybody, you do this at your own risk, and
Yes.
If you have a problem with it, have your lawyer call Annie.
Exactly. That's
Have the lawyer call the Grossbeck Realty Group first. We'll get that taken care of, and then we'll get to Annie, all right?
A new house will help, yeah.
So,
Annie, what's the other one you have?
Well,
Annie,
the other one
Annie,
is
I have a question for you.
okay.
So we had some friends join us, a couple, and when we were on a boat in Mexico, and he said he was prone to seasickness.
Yeah.
So he said he needed to sit in the pilot house in the center, right up front, in the best place. Was that just because he wanted that spot, or was that indeed helpful for him?
I can't speak to his intention, but I will tell you that is, and that's one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about was logistics and where you should be in the boat, right? You should not be down below. You should be midship. Flybridge is a little, depending on the height of the boat and the condition of the sea, you're going to have more of this up there than you would if you were on the bow midship where it's a little more this versus this. Yeah. So it could be he wanted to spot. I think he wanted to spot, but
Yeah, that's where he wanted to be.
So how did you do?
What I've done,
It's fine, yes.
Yeah.
what I've done is I've actually taken somebody and said, why don't you steer the boat for a while?
Yeah.
And that steering the boat keeps their eyes level, They don't
Yep.
have to wear the funny goggles,
Oh, come on.
and they feel much better.
Yeah.
And I think it's also they feel like they're in control.
It's
And-
true. It redirects what your brain is focusing on, right? If you now are in charge and you have to focus, and because your eyes are going to be more in alignment with your body, then yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
it's kind of like getting over hiccups. You think about something else, the next thing you know, maybe the hiccups are gone. One thing we
Right.
talk about at the office is not talking about seasickness when you're on a boat. Like, don't
Yeah.
talk about it. Just, like it's gonna happen. It might happen, but just don't bring it up prematurely, and
we
good things will
talked,
happen.
Annie and I talked about this also because she has a recommendation when you start to feel seasick. Annie,
Okay.
what do you do?
You just let it rip. I mean, once you start to feel that feeling, it's coming, it's gonna keep coming. You just got to get outside. Don't go down in the head. Don't go put your head in a bag or a box. Go mid-rail, preferably downwind, and just go over the rail. You have to. And you're gonna feel immediate relief. Don't be fooled because it's going to keep coming. Until you empty your stomach completely. And even then it's going to be the dry heaves, and it's going to last because it's all about that electrical current in your body. And until that slows all the way down and goes back to normal, that nausea and that queasiness is still going to be there, even if you don't have anything that needs to still come out. Okay. So that's with ginger. So as you were talking about ginger earlier, I can't say enough about that. I don't know of any other natural remedy that I feel works as well as that, perhaps peppermint, but ginger in any form, dried capsules.
So keep ginger cookies on board and yeah.
And once you're to that point of dry heaving, obviously you don't have anything in there that's still going to come up. That's your best shot at that point to try to get something in there, even if that comes back up. If you can absorb some of it, it's going to help. They don't know why. They think it's because it slows that electrical current down. I don't know that they'll ever understand completely how that works, but it's the best that I can think of.
It works, yeah.
It does work. Yeah.
We got a question from Terry Burrow. Can you get seasick while you're sleeping?
Ooh, well, that's a very good question. In fact, I read a study, and I should have pulled that up. Maybe you can do this, Peter. They did a study with blind people to see if blind people still got seasick at the same rate as the rest of us. And I feel like the answer was yes, they did, which kind of argues a different point from the one that I'm
need goggles.
No. Well, that's a really good question, and I'm sorry, don't know the answer to that. I would assume that yes, you could.
Dr. Google's telling me that yes, this one gentleman weighed in. Yes, blind people get motion sickness because motion sickness doesn't have to do with anything with eyes, but it's related to the ears.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's a lot of debate around that, but I still have to go. We have a vertigo clinic at the University of Washington in Harborview, and I've been there 20 years. I have to believe the research that I hear from there, which is eyes and ear.
We'll save that for the next time you're on. We're going to have you on in the future to talk first.
I know.
But one of the things that in thinking through this subject that dawned on me as a captain is how I can prevent seasickness through navigation. And I'll tell it in terms of a short story, and that recently happened. I was crossing the Strait of Juan de Fuca with Danielle, and she was starting to feel seasick, and the Landons actually were behind me by a couple miles, and they're watching me on AIS, and I'm coming from Port Townsend to Cattle Pass, and she was not feeling good. We were taking it on the beam, rolling around quite a bit, and I thought Cattle Pass is probably going to be worse. And Leonard and Lorena said later on, "Why did you take an immediate right turn?"
Well, 90-degree turn.
Yeah, they saw it on AIS. I got a following sea that way, which was much calmer. And I went around Lopez Island into the lee of the island where the water was flat, calm. Our trip took an hour rather than another 10 minutes. but 15 maybe, up to Fisherman's Bay. But by taking that longer trip, I avoided a seasick condition so I now put a navigation into this, that if you have somebody who's prone to seasickness, you can work your route accordingly towards a calmer trip, even if it's longer.
Yeah. Now, Mark, have you had seasickness before? You personally?
Yeah, and I've started to get airsick when doing aerobatics, but that's a whole different situation when you're flipping around. But no, I do not get seasick. My father never got seasick, so there's something genetically. I've talked to other people that I don't have the seasick gene. Thank you. Knock on wood. So I don't really. And I had a situation coming up the coast of Mexico, up the coast of Baja, and what they call the Baja Bash. And out of a crew of 8 of us, 6 people were constantly sick, and I was able to tough through it. And luckily, I was one of the co-captains as well as one of the chefs. So but I was only cooking for myself, it
I
turns
was just
out.
going to say nobody was eating, were they?
Nobody was eating. No, I was making soup for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's some other, I mean, the only other calming agent, so to speak, with green apples, right? Saltine crackers, peppermint tea if you can get it down. But really, once you're sick,
What about recovery, Annie? What about like Gatorade, or what do you recommend on that front? Same ones. Yeah.
Rehydrating salts for sure. If Pedialyte works great. Gatorades, obviously, teas, anything with rehydration, salts would be the best. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what does HURL stand for, Mark? We've been talking about this since we started our show 18 weeks ago.
I've teased with this for weeks.
Gosh, man, I can't sleep. I'm so excited.
Hand it back to Annie for that, because she hit, actually, I heard it in her class at the Seattle Boat Show, and I'm in the back of the room laughing. Annie, HURL, you invented it, right?
First of all, I can't believe that I'm here talking about puke. Like, I can't believe that. But I mean, it makes sense. So HURL, H for hydrates, right? U for use medications, R for relax, because once you're at that place where you're feeling that horrible, if you don't relax, then you just amp yourself up, you hyperventilate, everything gets worse. So H for hydrate, U for use medications, R for relax, L for look at the horizon. HURL.
Okay. And what does BARF stand for?
I don't know. You came up with that, and I honestly was going to use that originally, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Okay, so there's our challenge to our viewers. We've
got
a lot of creative boating friends out there.
Yep.
Come up with a acronym for BARF.
Yeah.
Be able to relieve yourself.
Oh.
Like that.
Okay, Lorena, that was quick. That was great.
Show's over.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to, I promised everybody we'd have fun with this topic, and I think we've hit a couple of low notes as well as high notes.
Yeah, Zoom's not going to invite us back, Mark.
I know. They're going to be banished. Annie, we've got a few minutes left, and I want to show the whale video, but we're going to have you back to talk about first aid. And you did such a fabulous job at the Seattle Boat Show on this, that what are a couple of comments that you've recently seen with people? I mean, I've gone on boats and said, what do you have for a first aid kit? And they come out with a couple of Band-Aids.
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
Well, I could go on and on about the first aid kit contents. And in fact, that literally could be a 20-minute conversation. There are so many household items you guys can use. And I love that topic of, it's one thing to have a first aid kit, but it's a completely another thing to know that you may forget to replace what you've used in there. And all of a sudden you're in a situation and you need to use a beer carton and saran wrap for a splint or, duct tape or.
That happened. We did it.
It happens. It does happen. And I think for me, I like to teach more that practical side, along with here's the list of things that you absolutely should have. It's also important to know when you panic and you can't even find the first aid kit, what else could you use?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll save that for another evening, and we'll keep that one as interesting also. I know there are a couple of household items that people definitely laugh about when you describe their alternate uses. So I'll leave that as the teaser
Let's
for
leave that.
a
Yeah.
future show. We've been trying to get Annie on now for, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks. Her schedule has just been slammed working at Harborview, and on behalf of everybody who's watching, we really appreciate what you and your colleagues do every day. It's just fantastic. I don't know how you do it. When I hear some of the things that you've shared with me or others have of the condition of people when they come in through those doors at Harborview, you're dealing with the toughest of the toughest cases.
Yeah.
And saving lives. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I would like to give one plug to Harborview just because I love it there so much. I've been there 20 years, and it is the level 1 trauma center for Washington, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho. So we get all the trauma from all those states. We are so fortunate to have that place in our backyard. I cannot say enough good things about it, especially with the response to COVID. That was a horrible time at our hospital, horrible time for the country, and people trying to figure out even how to respond to that. It's been very, one, terrifying, but at the same time, very encouraging to me to live in this area and have that place in our backyard. Feel honored.
Well, again, we appreciate it and can't say enough. And it's just fantastic what you do. And I appreciate what you shared with us. This has actually been interesting, and I'm not able at the moment to pull up my whale video. I'll have to save that. I'll tease that for next week, where we can see a great video of the whales. I had it going before the show started, and yeah.
Annie, has COVID brought Annie? Have you had a chance to pick up any new talents or skills during COVID at all?
Oh my gosh! Well,
have you?
Well, yes, actually I have. We've had to learn a completely different way to don our protective gear, and we've had a couple of races in the back hallway on who can do it the quickest and who can waste the least amount. So yeah, I've got a couple of good ones.
Cool, nice. Yeah.
And do you have some N95 masks on your boat?
You know what? I failed the N95 test. You have to be fitted for them and test for them at the hospital, but my hair kept like knocking it off. So I have to wear what's called a PAPR, which is a full face gear with I've got actually oxygen that pumps into it. It's a little backpack. So I can't even wear an N95.
Oh, so you look like an astronaut when you're
I do. It's not the best thing ever, but it's what we have to do.
Landons, what about you? Have you picked up a new talent or a new skill since COVID started?
Not really, just the talent of wearing your mask and taking it off to talk and eat it.
Right. And what about you, Mark? Anything new in your panoply of gifts?
I carry my mask right in my back pocket, and I've learned how to quickly put it on.
Put it on, yeah.
When going down the...
That doesn't sound sanitary, Mark.
That is so bad.
Fail.
No.
It didn't have to be COVID related. It didn't have to be COVID. I read this new thing about how to make. I've been doing it all wrong about how to make tuna melts.
Oh, tell us.
What?
All right, we got 2 minutes, Peter.
All you have to do is profess your undying love.
Oh,
God. What?
Oh,
that was great.
No.
That was great. What? How do you do it? That's what I've got. So what's on tap? Annie, thanks for being with us. What's on tap for next week, Mark?
Well, we've got Doug Miller, who joined us tonight. Thank you, Doug, for being
Doug's
here.
already lined up.
He's getting ready. And these are the questions that a lot of people have had about AIS and understanding, like anything else in technology. You know, there's a little bit of a language, AIS-A, AIS-B, what does that mean? And which one should you have? And Doug, with his company Miltech, has just done a fantastic job of answering people's questions, and yes, selling them the gear, but helping them to effectively use it. So he's going to be with us next week. And we've got a couple of other things coming up. We've got a brand new cookbook for Northwest boaters.
Nice.
And we'll feature Carol Buchan, the author of that, and show her beautiful photography and the recipes that she's come up with for cooking while on board and during the middle of a sailboat race. And Carol's completely engaging. And then I signed up a new guest today, Peter.
Nice.
Actually yesterday, somebody who I'm very excited about, and it's our area's very own Bud Gould. You may not know that name, but Bud is the president and I guess the founder of Anthony's Restaurants.
Oh, I know Bud Gould. Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Bud is a boater.
Yeah.
Great guy. And Leonard Lorena and I had a meeting with him the other day on a different topic.
Yeah.
And he started telling us about this marvelous story about when he and a bunch of his young buddies were 14 years old and how they took a couple of small boats from Seattle up to the San Juan Islands.
Wow. Cool.
Now here was the trick question that he had. I'll give it away as part of the tease. It's much better when he tells it, of course. But his mother said, you can go, you can take your brother, but you have to call me every night. But you are not allowed to visit Susha Island. Now, why couldn't he visit Susha Island?
Why couldn't he visit
I don't
Susha
know.
Island?
Here it comes.
There were no payphones. When he was 14, there was no cell phone. He had it worked out that he could only go from payphone to payphone.
Hey, what's a payphone? I was actually trying to explain phone books to my 12-year-old daughter today. I just gave up. I just said it's a large book that you will never need to use, and let's talk about something else.
The paper internet, something like that.
Yeah, we could talk about something much more interesting than here. We talk about.
So we're lining up different topics. And by the way, we've got some incredible people that are watching this show tonight. If you have something besides juggling, we do not feature jugglers. But if you have something related to boating that you think would be a great topic and you'd like to be a guest on our show, please email me or email Peter and let's talk and let's see if we can put you on a future Seattle Boat Show Live.
Yeah, we'll have tryouts, Mark. I put my email in the chat box. That sounds excellent. Well, I think that's all I've got for tonight. That's episode 19. Saturday Night Live's episode 19, first season, Madeline Kahn. She went proud of tonight's show.
Yeah.
We did her justice. So, well, thanks so much for being with us at home. I want to thank Katie McPhail, who's making us look good behind the scenes, twisting the dials. And Landon, I hope you have an excellent week. Annie, it was a pleasure to meet you. And Mark, you take care of yourself out on the water.
Yeah. Annie, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to having you back to talk first aid.
All right, sounds good. Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
All right, good night.